Welcome to WikiPodcast. Today we're embarking on a deep dive into Judaism. It's really one of the oldest monotheistic religions, and while it's profoundly shaped Western civilization.
Absolutely. And in this exploration, we're going to focus on three really central pillars. First, the concept of one God, then the significance of the 613 laws that guide Jewish life, and finally, this unique idea of the Jewish people as being somehow set apart.
Okay. And to navigate this, we're mainly using the Wikipedia page on Judaism as our source. It gives a pretty broad view, doesn't it? History, beliefs, practices.
It does. It's quite comprehensive. Our goal here is really to pull out the most meaningful insights from all that information to help you, our listener, get a clearer understanding of these really foundational elements of Judaism.
Okay, sounds good. Let's unpack this, starting with that first concept, which feels absolutely fundamental, the idea of one God. Our source highlights that Judaism is among the earliest monotheistic faiths. That's a massive shift from what came before.
Oh, completely transformative. And what's particularly striking, I think, is the portrayal of the Hebrew God. Unlike the big pantheons of gods in other ancient Near Eastern cultures, the Hebrew God is presented as, well, unitary and solitary. It's not just about numbers, one versus many. It implies God's main relationship is directly with the world, with humanity, and in a special way with the Jewish people.
Right, right. And it mentions this idea of ethical monotheism. So it's not just believing in a single deity, but in a God who has a moral compass, cares about how we behave.
Precisely. Ethical monotheism is really the bedrock here. Belief in one God who is profoundly concerned with human actions, with our ethical choices. Though interestingly, the Hebrew Bible itself talks about periods where the ancient Israelites did worship other gods.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, which suggests that, this exclusive monotheism wasn't maybe always the consistent practice right from the very start.
That makes sense. History is usually messy. And here's something really interesting. The source touches on how some scholars think that a more unwavering form of monotheism really took hold during the Babylonian exile. That feels pivotal.
It does seem like a crucial period.
What was it about that experience, do you think, that might have solidified this belief so strongly?
Well, that's a great question. You have this profound disruption, right? Losing their land, the temple, and encountering other powerful cultures with their own gods. It might have sort of forced a clearer definition of their own faith.
Big reaction.
Possibly, emphasizing God's unique power, God's transcendence. It could have been a way to maintain identity, maintain hope when everything else was lost. You could almost see that period as a crucible, forging a more exclusive understanding of God. And it's around this context that the Shema prayer, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, becomes such a powerful central declaration.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the Wikipedia entry quotes Maimonides, the medieval scholar.
A towering figure.
His second principle of faith. I believe with perfect faith that the Creator is one, and that there is no unity in any manner like his. That really hammers home the absolute uniqueness, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Maimonides, through his work codifying Jewish beliefs, gave such a clear, influential voice to these principles. And his fifth principle, too, emphasizing that it's right to pray only to God, that reinforces the exclusive devotion.
Okay. So that's the foundation, one unique ethical God. Let's move to the second core aspect you mentioned, the 613 laws, the mitzvot, and halakha, Jewish law. Wow, 613, that sounds like a truly comprehensive framework.
It really is. For religious Jews, observing these laws is seen as fulfilling the Mosaic covenant, the agreement between God and the Israelites back in Sinai. And the word Torah itself is so rich. It means teaching, law, instruction. It refers, of course, to the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, the written Torah, but it can also mean the broader body of Jewish wisdom and teaching.
Okay, so it's more than just the text itself. The entry mentions the oral Torah and how that developed into the Mishnah and Talmud. How does that relationship work?
Right. So think of the written Torah as the foundation, the core principles. Rabbinic tradition holds that God also gave Moses an oral Torah on Sinai, basically. Interpretations, applications, ways to live out those written principles. This was passed down orally for generations, teacher to student, and eventually written down. First as the Mishnah, around 200 CE, and then later expanded with more commentary and debate in the Talmud.
So halakha is built on both.
Exactly. Halakha is the practical way of Jewish life, drawing on this combined understanding of written and oral Torah. It's developed over centuries through this fascinating system of legal precedent, asking questions, getting rulings from rabbis. These are called responsa.
Like case law, almost?
In a way, yeah, a living tradition of interpretation and application.
And the Shulchan Aruch is mentioned as a key guidebook, especially for Orthodox practice today, like a go-to source.
Precisely. It's a very influential code of halakha, offering practical guidance for daily life for Orthodox Jews. And there's a beautiful idea connected to this. Observing halakha, even in small things, is seen by many as a way to bring holiness into the everyday, to infuse ordinary actions with a sense of the divine.
That's a really powerful perspective. It reframes rules from just obligations to opportunities. The Birkat HaMitzvot, those blessings said before doing a commandment, seem to really highlight that connection.
Absolutely. They consciously elevate an act. It's not just, say, lighting candles, but connecting with God through lighting candles. And the Wikipedia entry lists lots of ritual objects tied to the laws, the Torah scroll itself, the talit or prayer shawl to fill in.
The little boxes worn during prayer.
Yeah, containing scripture passages. Also mezuzah on the doorpost. Each one is a tangible reminder, a tool for fulfilling the mitzvah. The tefillin, for instance, physically connect the mind and heart to the commandments during prayer. It's quite profound.
And then you have the major prayers like the Shema, the Amidah, the big holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Pesach, all tied into specific observances.
Right. It paints a picture of a life deeply interwoven with religious practice, marking time and shaping daily actions.
Dietary laws, kashrut, laws of ritual purity, it really covers so many aspects of life.
It does. Kashrut, tuma, family purity, or niddah. These are significant parts of halakha for observant Jews. But it's crucial to remember it's not only about ritual. Ethical principles, justice, truth, peace, loving kindness, cheese. These are also absolutely fundamental guides within Jewish life and law.
Okay, so a comprehensive system encompassing ritual and ethics rooted in Torah. Now let's get to that third point, the idea of the Jewish people as being set apart. The entry describes Judaism as an Abrahamic monotheistic ethnic religion. That word ethnic seems really key here.
It really is. Judaism isn't just a set of beliefs you subscribe to, like joining a club. It's deeply intertwined with the identity of a people, the Jewish people. The concept of the covenant, starting with Abraham marked physically by circumcision, is seen as establishing this unique relationship and essentially forming the Jewish people.
So there's this idea of a reciprocal relationship. God shows concern for the world, and the Jewish nation is called to mirror that concern and also to have a particular bond with each other.
Exactly. A responsibility towards the world and a specific connection and responsibility within the community. And as the source points out, making a sharp distinction between Jews as a people and Judaism as a religion, well, it can be tricky.
It mentions Daniel Boyarin arguing that the typical Western separation of religion and ethnicity doesn't quite fit Judaism.
Right. He suggests that Jewishness involves these interconnected strands, national identity, genealogy, religious practice, often in tension, but always related. It's a complex tapestry.
It's interesting how rabbinical Judaism traditionally views Jewish identity. It seems quite enduring.
Generally, yes. The traditional view, based on halakha, is that someone born to a Jewish mother, or who undergoes a formal conversion according to Jewish law, is Jewish. And they remain Jewish, even if their personal beliefs change or they stop practicing. Though it's worth noting different movements within Judaism today might have slightly different perspectives or applications of this.
Yeah, the who is a Jew question, that's had a long history of discussion, right? Especially in modern Israel, often linked to that principle of matrilineal descent.
It has been and continues to be a complex and sometimes contentious issue. Absolutely.
And then there's the concept of the chosen people. That phrase can sound, well, loaded. How does the source frame it?
The entry suggests it's generally understood not as implying superiority, but rather a unique relationship with God, a specific covenant that brings with it a particular set of responsibilities and a distinct role in the world.
So being set apart is more about responsibility than privilege.
That's a common interpretation, yes, a unique task or purpose. And this idea of being set apart also manifests in tangible ways we've touched on. Things like dietary laws, kashrut, or wearing religious garments like the kippah or tzitzit. They serve as visible markers of this distinct identity and commitment.
And historically, you see the development of distinct Jewish ethnic groups in the diaspora Ashkenazi from Europe, Sephardi from Spain, Portugal, Mizrahi from the Middle East.
Exactly, each developing unique traditions, languages, customs, food, music, all while maintaining that core Jewish identity and connection. It shows incredible diversity within the unity.
And then the more modern religious movements, Orthodox, conservative, Reform, Reconstructionist, etc., emerging in response to modernity, but still connected to these core ideas.
Right, different ways of interpreting and living out the tradition in the modern world while still engaging with that shared history and those foundational principles.
The Wikipedia entry also mentions Kedusha, holiness. How does that fit in?
Kedusha is often linked to imitating God, striving for holiness in daily conduct. It involves ethical behavior, certainly, but also separation. Separation from things considered impure or improper, like idolatry, certain sexual prohibitions, bloodshed. It connects back to being set apart for a specific purpose.
It really feels like all these threads, the one God, the detailed laws, the distinct peoplehood, are woven together so tightly.
They really are deeply interconnected. Each one informs and reinforces the others, shaping the whole historical experience and the ongoing traditions of Judaism in really profound ways.
So, wrapping this part up, what does this all mean? We've journeyed through these foundational ideas. A singular ethical God, a comprehensive legal and ethical system guiding daily life, and this unique identity of the Jewish people shaped by history and covenant.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground. But here's where it gets really interesting, I think, as a point to ponder. Considering how these three elements, one God, the law, the people, constantly interact, how do you think that concept of being set apart has actually influenced Jewish interactions with other cultures and religions throughout history? It raises fascinating questions, doesn't it? About how a community maintains its distinctiveness while also living within and engaging with the wider world, balancing separation and interaction.
That's a really powerful point to reflect on. And obviously, this deep dive has only scratched the surface of such a rich, ancient, and complex tradition.
Absolutely. There's so much more nuance and depth to explore.
We definitely encourage you, our listeners, to delve further into Jewish thought, history, and practice if this has sparked your interest.
For me, what really resonates is the enduring strength and adaptability of these core principles over millennia and how they continue to shape the lives and identities of Jewish people all across the globe today.
Thanks for listening. Write us in the comments your opinion on the episode and what other topics you would like us to talk about. Subscribe to the channel to help us reach more listeners. Thank you and have an amazing day.